Your wallpaper is probably a very important part in making your desktop look awesome and cool. And today I'm just gonna go through how to find good wallpapers and also how to manage your wallpapers and set them in Linux. So first of all, let me open up my terminal just to show you my collection of wallpapers. So right now if I do an LA, you can see that I have about 70 wallpapers that I have collected, and most of these are these nature wallpapers because I don't like any of those non-nature wallpapers, right? So these are the sort of wallpapers that I like. So let's say I want to set a wallpaper of some animals here. We've got one of these elephants. There we go, right? That's a nice little wallpaper. And the way you find these wallpapers is mostly from the internet. Now the two biggest places to find a wallpaper is actually from reddit.com r/wallpaper. This is the subreddit where you can find some great wallpapers, right? There are some bad wallpapers in here. Most of these are AI generated, and I don't like using AI generated wallpapers, but there are some good ones in here, like this one. It's a really nice one, and the first one in here as well. That's a really nice one. And if you do actually just want some nature wallpapers, then you can actually just go to pexels.com. Now you may have seen some people advertise like Unsplash, right? So Unsplash is a good website for getting your images, but the problem with Unsplash is that there are certain wallpapers in here that have this little watermark, right? And it's actually this Unsplash Plus thing. That's basically a paid membership or something. I have no idea. But the thing with the pixels is that every single image you find in here is free. So for example, if I just hit a search for nature, then you can see all sorts of nature wallpapers, right? You've got one for a beautiful looking cliff here, stuff like that, flowers. All of that can be found in pixels, which is a great source for wallpapers. Another great source for wallpapers is Wallhaven. Now on Wallhaven you can find mostly these cartoon or anime wallpapers, right? There are some nature wallpapers in here. For example, if I just hit a search for nature, then you can see that we have some awesome wallpapers in here, and those are the wallpapers that you can find in Wallhaven. Another great source for wallpapers is also Imager. So if you go into imager.com, you should be able to find many nature wallpapers, right? All of that. So we can simply search for like a nature wallpaper, and it should give me all of the stuff in there. So you can just go here to the tags nature wallpaper. You can see that we have some awesome wallpapers here, nice landscapes, and this looks like a really nice one, so I might save that, right? And most of the time you'll want to keep this in the home/wallpapers directory. Now this is where most people keep their wallpapers because it's a pretty standard directory for the user. But a thing that I actually recommend is also keeping your wallpapers in the user share backgrounds directory. Now this is where all of your system wallpapers actually exist. So I could do a little something like nature, right? Or maybe I just do Qtile there because I use Qtile. And yeah, we're gonna need sudo permissions for this. I'll just search for, I'll just make a directory called artboard. Why not, right? And then what we can do is do a sudo copy of all of the images in home/wallpapers into this artboard directory there, and it should take me there. If you go here, you can see all of the directories. There should also be a .git folder, which I don't really need, and yeah, that did not come through. But you can also keep this in here. Now the benefit of keeping this in here is whenever you're using some sort of program, or maybe it's some sort of display settings. For example, if you're using the XFCE desktop environment, you're very likely to have a display settings where you can set your wallpaper, and I think XFCE doesn't have permission to go into the home directory to look for wallpapers. Instead, the default wallpapers are found in user shared backgrounds. So that's the benefit of having a backup of your wallpapers in user shared backgrounds. You'll also want that if you're planning to make your own distribution, because then you can package this and make it work as is. Now when it comes to managing your wallpapers, there is a bit of complications. So right now if I go ahead and change my wallpaper, I'm using this image viewer called NSXIV to change my wallpaper. So let's say I set this wallpaper of the zebras here, then it's gonna apply that. Now this image viewer doesn't actually have the ability to set a wallpaper. It's just an image viewer, and it has this feature called thumbnail mode, which you can activate with the -to flag, where you can give it a directory and it will list all of the images in that directory in this nice little mode here, so that we can change it. Now as for changing the wallpaper or setting it on your display, it actually matters on your display server. So most people use an Xorg. Xorg is a display server, and for Xorg you can just do a fey -bg -scale. Now fey is also another image viewer that you can get from your standard repos. It's actually available in pretty much any distribution repositories, and fey acts as an image viewer and a wallpaper picker. For example, I can go ahead and do a fey -bg -scale wallpapers, then pick a random one. Now in this time fey is not gonna apply that wallpaper because I am not on Xorg, I'm on Wayland right now. For you Wayland users, you have this tool called SWWW. Now SWWW is a very simple and advanced wallpaper picker at the same time, because it can be very simple, right? So for example, if I change my wallpaper, all it does is just change that. There's no fancy stuff going on, but SWWW has this really cool feature where you can actually just set any sort of animation that you want. For example, let me select this image here, and let's set the transition -type to grow, and you'll notice how that wallpaper has changed. It has this really nice grow effect, but I don't like having those effects, so I just turn them off. But you can have such effects if you want that. So SWW on Wayland is really cool, and it also works pretty dynamically. For example, if I open up my autostart config, which is located in .config qtile autostart.sh, then we can see that this is my autostart configuration. And if I'm on Wayland right now, it will run the SWWW daemon. Now you need the daemon to set an image with SWW. So the way it works is that if you run the daemon and then you set an image with SWWW, then the next time you close SWWW and then run the daemon again, it will restore your last image. Now on fey, you can do that by executing the .feybg script, which it will create whenever you set a wallpaper with fey. So that's how the fey wallpaper works dynamically, and that's pretty much it for changing your wallpapers. Another tool that's worth mentioning is for Xorg only, and it's called Nitrogen. Now Nitrogen is a GUI wallpaper picker. So the way it works is that you'd have a GUI wallpaper picker where you pick a folder that you want it to look for images. Then once you select one, it will go ahead and set that wallpaper in X11. Then you can add to your autostart config nitrogen -restore, which should restore your last wallpaper that you set, right? And that's how you use nitrogen. That's the only ways I know how to manage my wallpapers. You can also use Wallpaper if you're on Wayland. It's also another GUI wallpaper picker, but it's for Wayland. And it works the same exact way. You just pick a directory. Although one thing with Wallpaper is that it doesn't have its own wallpaper engine, which means you'll need to pick an engine like SWWW or something like that to change your wallpapers, right? And if you do actually want to use my wallpapers, then I have all of those in my GitLab repository, which I will leave in the description down below as always. So if you go to this repo, then you can see that I have all of my 70 wallpapers right here. So what you can do is just clone this, and this will be part of my .files installer, stuff like that, right? So you can simply clone this repository if you want to, and that's how you collect your wallpapers. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I will see you later.